Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today we're going to be doing a Mathmech deck profile. So I'm really excited for this one because this is actually a Patreon request deck for Awalt. So Awalt is a really big fan of mine and actually loves to play Mathmech. And Mathmech is a really awesome deck to be able to play around with, to be able to summon this awesome Yugioh Mathmech Final Sigma on your side of the field, to have 6,000 attack points, unaffected by everything, and be able to attack twice is just absolutely crazy. This card is absolutely insane, and I'm really excited to bring this one to you, Awalt. This deck is super fun to play with, and I'm really excited to actually do this one because the test hands are super fun to be able to do with this deck, and even playing it on stream over on StaringAtGames. If you guys are not subscribed to StaringAtGames, you definitely should. And down in the description, we're almost to 1,000 subscribers, and it would be a really big help. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, guys. Hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, just like Awalt did, like getting your name featured in every single video, getting a signed card sent in the mail, or even getting to request a deck profile every single month your patron, along with test hands. And without further ado, guys, let's get straight on into this, and definitely give Awalt some love down in the comments down below. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Mathmech Stigma. So Stigma is really good because basically what this card does is, if you don't control a monster in your extra monster zone while this card's in your hand or graveyard, you can immediately special summon this card but banish it when it leaves the field. And also, you cannot special summon monsters from the deck, extra deck, for the rest of the turn, except for Cyverse monsters. You only use effect of this card once per turn. And if this card you control is used for a synchro summon the Mathmech, you can treat the synchro material monsters, you can treat it as a non-tuner as well. So basically, you can treat this as a tuner or a non-tuner, whichever one you particularly need it to be. We then play 3 copies of Mathmech Edition. Mathmech Edition is so good, it's been teched into a lot of other Cyverse decks. And what this card does is it lets you target a face-up monster on the field, and you cannot special summon monsters for its turn except for Cyverse monsters, and also you cannot special summon, you can also special summon this card from your hand, but it can't attack, which is not that big of a deal, and if you do, the targeted monster gains 1,000 attack until the end of the turn, which is a very powerful effect. We then play 3 copies of Subtraction, which does the exact same thing as Addition, but it makes a monster lose 1,000 attack points instead of gaining the attack points, which is really important to keep in mind. We then play a single copy of Multiplication. Multiplication is the one card that you're going to need the majority of the time to be able to go into your Yugioh Mathmech Final Sigma, because it's going to help you get your level 8 on your side of the field to go with Nabla and your copy of Multiplication into your copy of Yugioh Mathmech Final Sigma. So what this card does is it lets you target a level 4 Cyverse monster you control. Its level becomes 8 until the end of the turn. And then if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target 1 Cyverse monster you control or in your extra monster zone, and its attack becomes doubled, which is really amazing because you can double the attack of your Yugioh Mathmech Final Sigma, because it's still affected by Mathmech cards, so you can double this card's attack points to 6,000, which is really nice. We then play a single copy of Division. Division lets you tribute a Cyverse monster you control in the extra monster zone to special summon up to 1 level 4 Cyverse monster from each of your hand and graveyard. And if this card is sent to the graveyard, then you can target 1 face-up monster on the field and its attack becomes halved, which is also very good to half an opponent's monster's attack points. We then play 2 copies of Nabla. Nabla is really good in this deck too. Nabla has the ability that you can tribute a Cyverse monster, special summon any Mathmech from your deck, and if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target a Cyverse monster you control in your extra monster zone. It can make 2 attacks on monsters during each battle phase this turn, which is why the majority of the time you're going to want to use, like you guys will see in the test hands, you're going to want to use your copy of Nabla and your copy of Multiplication to then increase the attack of your Final Sigma to be all the way up to 6,000, and then it can attack twice, which is going to be the big boost of using your Yugioh Mathmech Final Sigma on your side of the field to go into those really amazing OTKs. We then play 2 copies of Diameter. Diameter is just a 2 of to me. What it does is it's a tuner monster, and when this card is normal summoned, you can target a level 4 Cyverse monster in your graveyard, special summon it, but it can't activate its effects this turn, and a Mathmech monster that was used as a synchro, or a Mathmech monster that's summoned using this card as a synchro or Izzy material gains the following effect: that once per turn, during this turn, this card was special summoned when an opponent's monster activates a card or effect. Quick effect, you can negate the effect, which is really good because the deck was lacking before we got Diameter any sort of negation, but it wasn't super in need of it, to be honest with you guys, because this deck is an all-in kind of OTK build to make some really amazing tower boss monsters. We then play 3 copies of Parallel Xyz, because Parallel Xyz is super helpful at making rank 4s, which I love playing this card because when you go into something like your copy of your your copy of your Code Talker monster that you're playing, Code Talker Inverted, in the extra deck. Once you go into Code Talker Inverted, you can just special summon this to your side of the field, and it helps you get into your copy of your Izzy monster to then go for the copy of Super Fractoral. So this card is super helpful to be able to just summon to your side of the field and give you 2 of your level 4s on your side of the field simultaneously. We then play 3 of the best normal summon in the deck, which is 3 copies of Balancer Lord. This is a card you want to see in your hand all the time. It's the main playmaker that you're going to be using in this deck. You either want to see a Balancer Lord and then any other level 4, or you want to see a subtraction or an addition or subtraction in your hand plus any other level 4 to be able to go into your really amazing plays. That's the most important thing to keep in mind, because basically you pay 1,000 life points with your Balancer Lord, and then it lets you normal summon additional time. And if this card is banished, then you can special summon a level 4 monster from your hand, but you can only use each effect of this card once per turn. So it's really powerful at getting you as an extender card. This card is the best card in the entire deck, I have to say, in my opinion. I know it's not a Mathmech, but it is so powerful to be able to open up Balancer Lord. We then play 3 copies of Lady Debug. Lady Debug does only let you search a level 3 or lower Cyverse monster from your deck, and we only play 3 targets for it, but this card is so pivotal to be able to get to. You need to play 3 Lady Debug, because on normal summon, this card can get you one of your main combo pieces, and if you open up Balancer Lord, Lady Debug, you've pretty much gone full combo, which is what's really amazing about this deck. We then play 3 copies of Microcoder. Microcoder is the monster that's going to be the target for our copy of Lady Debug. This card can be used as a link material while it's in your hand for a Code Talker monster, and when you link summon using this card, you can add 1 Signet Spell or Trap from your deck to your hand, which is really amazing, just to add you a Signet Conflict or a Signet Mining from your deck to your hand. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom to round out the monsters. The Ash Blossoms are basically just here to stop our opponent from doing all sorts of shenanigans against us while we're going into our plays. To be able to stop them from touching the deck is just really nice. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Monster Reborn just as a great extender for the deck. This card helps out a lot in the deck because you get those extra monsters, and the more monsters you have, you guys know, you get more link summoning. Playing a 39 card deck is also nice, so we play a single copy of Upstart Goblin, 1 copy of Foolish Burial. The Foolish Burial comes in handy because if you can send the Balancer Lord to graveyard, there's certain cards that you can use to banish it to be able to get you additional plays. 1 copy of Called by the Grave. The Called by the Grave is really nice to stop our opponent from doing all sorts of stuff against us while we're trying to go off, and it just stops hand traps. 1 copy of Mathmech Equation. Equation lets you target a Mathmech in the graveyard and special summon it. If you do, gains 1,000 attack. So basically it's an additional searchable Monster Reborn. And then we play 3 copies of Signet Mining to round out the spells. The 3 Signet Minings are really important for the deck because they're the searchers of the deck, because they send a card from your hand to the grave to let you add a level 4 lower Cyverse monster in your deck to your hand, which is usually going to be Balancer Lord or Lady Debug, to then be able to normal summon to your side of the field, either give you additional normal summon or search the deck for your Microcoder. Is just really important. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So we're only playing 2 traps, and we're both playing 2 crazy traps in this deck, which is Mathmech Super Fractoral and a Signet Conflict. So basically what these do is this is going to be your main card that you're actually going to search off your copy of your Microcoder, because once you search your copy of your Signet Conflict, it's going to be basically an Infernity Barrier. Then when a spell or trap or monster effect is activated, while you control a Code Talker monster, which can be Access Code, Transcode, or your M-Code, or your Code Talker Inverted, you have 3 in the extra deck that you use. You can negate the activation and banish that card. And if you do, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects with the same original name as that card until the end of the next turn, which is an extremely powerful card if you're playing against a deck that plays a lot of the same cards. Like, for example, if you banish a copy of Golden Lord, Eldridge the Golden Lord, this card's really powerful at banishing that, because it's just going to stop it to be able to like shut down an entire deck, because then they can't do anything, and that's their main card. Now Super Fractoral is very awesome, because basically what you're going to do is you're going to target up to 3 Mathmechs in your graveyard, special summon all 3 of those Mathmechs, and then immediately use those 3 Mathmechs to either Synchro Summon or Izzy Summon into a Mathmech monster, which is really amazing, because it basically instantly gives you any of your Mathmech extra deck monsters on your side of the field, and this card is easily searchable off your Mathmech Izzy and is a key combo piece for the entire deck, which you guys will see in test hands. So let's get into the extra deck because that's it for the main deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing a single copy because you only really need one Final Sigma. Once you go into Final Sigma, it's going to be really hard for your opponent to out. So you just play a single copy of it because it just pushes for games. What this card does is it's unaffected by every other card effect except for Mathmech cards while it's in the extra monster zone. And if this card is in the extra monster zone, battles an opponent's monster, any battle damage inflicted to your opponent is doubled. And if this card is destroyed by battle, or if this card in its owner's possession is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, then you get to add a Mathmech card from your deck to your hand, which is usually going to be Equation to then revive your copy of Final Sigma, which is going to be the main play of the card if it does get outed by like a Kaiju or something. Well, it has to be destroyed by battle, or if this card in its owner's possession is destroyed by an opponent's card effect. But if they Kaiju it, that's going to be the only real way that they're going to out this card, unless they Utopia double through it, and then at that point, you're probably losing anyways, but you have some other cards that you can still play around with. We then play a single copy of Yugioh Mathmech Magma. Magma is really good as just a one-of. I probably wouldn't play any more than one of Magma, and I've considered cutting it for a second Final Sigma, but this card is still kind of utility for me because sometimes I'll have my extra monster zone clogged up, and sometimes I'll have with Super Fractoral, I only have two zones left to summon with off my final or my Super Fractoral. And so I'll just summon this instead of the Final Sigma to a zone. And what this card does is when it destroys a monster by battle, you can target 2 cards your opponent controls and destroy them. If this card is destroyed by battle, or if this card is in your opponent's possession and destroyed by opponent's card effect, then you can add a Mathmech spell or trap from your deck to your hand. So this card's really, really good at just popping cards. And I say, if I have like 3 link monsters in my main monster zone and I still have 2 empty zones, then I'll just use Super Fractoral and go into this just to push for game to give me additional pops. We then play one each of the Mathmech XZ monsters. So basically each one of these is very, very unique. I just feel like you need one of each because I have this extra deck is very, very tight. The only thing that you could really cut is the Magma, but I like playing Magma in the extra deck. So basically what these do is this one's basically Trish and this one Searches. So basically you're going to use this one the majority of the time in your combos because you detach 2 materials from this card to add a Mathmech card from your deck to your hand, which is always going to be Super Fractoral that you're trying to get to in your deck, and it's a part of the combo that again you guys will see during test hands. And then you play a single copy of the other Mathmech XZ, and what this card does is it's basically Trishula because you detach 3 materials from this card, up to 3 materials, and you have to use 3 materials to summon this card. And if this card or if a Mathmech card you control would be destroyed by a card effect, you can detach up to 3 materials from it, then choose, or you can detach a material from this card instead. And then also, if this card is XZ summon, you can detach 3 materials from this card and then choose the effects depending on the amount that you detach. So you either get to send a random card from your opponent's hand to the grave, send a random card from your opponent's controls to the grave, or send a spell or trap your opponent controls to the grave. So it basically sends a monster, a spell, and a card from their hand to the graveyard by detaching 3 materials, which this card is also a really good card to summon during your opponent's turn. To interrupt them, if they're making a really big board, you can make this and then interrupt them with a Super Fractoral, which is really good. We then play a single copy of Crusadia Avermax, which is another basically boss monster for this deck. This card's really easy to go into with your Link Devotee and Link Disciple combo. That's going to lock you into Link 2s during your turn. So during your opponent's turn, if you have an IP on your side of the field and the Code Talker inverted, you can actually go into this after you activate the Signet Conflict, which is super, super nice. We play a single copy of Access Code because it gives us additional pops, Transcode because it can revive stuff out of the graveyard, and it gives us another attribute. The only Cyverse that only non-Cyverse monster we're playing in the entire extra deck is a single copy of Nightmare Unicorn because it spins stuff, and it's kind of there for utility just in case we need it during opponent's turn. One copy of Code Talker inverted, you gotta play one because if this card is link summoned, you special summon a monster from your hand that's a Cyverse to a zone this card points to, which is extremely powerful. One copy of Splash Mage. Splash Mage is if you can target one Cyverse monster in the graveyard and special summon it in defense position, but its effects are negated and you can't special summon monster its turn except for Cyverse. But as you can see, the only one we're playing is a Nightmare Unicorn, and you can even like cut that if you want to. I wouldn't because it's good to use with IP during the opponent's turn. One copy of Cyverse Wit Kid. Wicked, basically, if a monster is special summoned to a zone it points to, you get to add a Cyverse Tuner from your deck to your hand, but you have to put a card from your hand on the bottom, or you have to banish the Cyverse from the graveyard, which is really, really good just to banish the Cyverse from the graveyard because you can banish Balancer Lord to get its effects off. One copy of IP Masquerena because you can make this, and then you can use Cyverse Wicked in this, or Cyverse, or Masquerena plus Inverted to go in your Avermax, and then Avermax can't be destroyed by card effects, targeted by card effects, and it gains attack if it battles a special summon monster. So this thing is like invincible just about, which is awesome. One copy of Link Rebo, because you can make the Link Rebo with the tokens, and so it's kind of there just in case you need it with the tokens off your Link Devotee and Link Disciple. So it's kind of there just in case you need it, and you can also make it off your copy of your Code Talker Inverted if you normal summon it. So I played it as a one of. One copy of Link Disciple. Link Disciple is really good because it's going to be your first Link summon in this entire deck, and it's going to be the main combo piece. Because you're going to summon this and Devotee on your side of the field every time. You attribute a monster that this card points to, and then you get to draw a card and then place a card from your hand on the bottom of your deck. And then we play a single copy of Devotee. Devotee, if it's tributed, then you get to special summon 2 tokens to your side of the field, which is really nice, but you can't special summon anything that's Link 3 or higher for the rest of the turn, which is why you usually just summon Link 2s for the rest of the turn anyways. Not that big of a deal, because IP Masquerena is either going to go into your access code, Mech Knight Crusadia Avermax, or Unicorn during your opponent's turn, and then the transcode comes out later when you're trying to climb into access code during your turn, which is super nice. So that's it for the deck, guys. Definitely like, comment, subscribe, and Awalt, definitely tell me what you think of this deck down in the comments down below, because this deck is super, super fun to play around with, and I hope you guys do enjoy it. The test hand should be coming out very soon for this as well, because this deck is ridiculously fun to play with. I actually really enjoyed doing the test end of this. It does take a little bit to do a turn because you're trying to get so many plays off so quickly, which is what's really amazing about this deck, and it's super, super fun to play with. So again, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can come part of the notification squad, show some Awalt some love down in the comments down below for requesting this one, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.